Todd presented for me last time, and I think Pat Gwen the time before that. So it's good to be back with you guys again. As Mr. Johnson mentioned, there's been a lot of devastation in our state with the recent ice storms and things, and Natural Resources has been working under the direction of Mr. Todd Enlow in helping with some of the emergency management efforts. One of our key roles that we played was on some of the down roads, since we do have men that are skilled with chainsaws and we had that resource. We did have groups that were going out and clearing roads to make sure that emergency management vehicles could get to where they could deliver water and food, and so that propane trucks could get in to bring propane for people. So it actually felt good to get out in the communities and get to help those who were in need, and it was nice to be able to get out there and do that. And everyone that we came in contact with was extremely appreciative. A thank you letter came in today, and if you don't mind, I would like to read that. And it just says, "Dear Mr. Enlow, thank you and your staff for helping me in the ice crisis. Bagwin and his crew may have saved me from total peril. My car was hung up, and AAA refused to help me even though I have paid their fees for years. I was about to collapse from trying to get wood in to heat the house. Thank God for the Cherokee Nation. Sincerely, and what is." And so I expect that many more things like that will be coming in. So I wanted to share that with you. In regard to some of the devastation we may have sustained as a resource department, we have miles of down fence in Delaware County from where trees came down. So I'm sure we're still taking the assessment of how many miles of fence that we're going to have, that we're probably just going to have to work with the lessees, and if we can afford to provide some of the supplies and the manpower to help those lessees get their fences back up, we will do that. Of course, when they enter into the lease agreement, they know that they're responsible for the fences, but with this being a natural disaster, we'll do what we can to work with them and try and help and get those things addressed. The other issue is in Delaware County, we have got pine trees that are down, and we're still taking the assessment on how many acres of pine trees we've lost due to the ice storm. So we'll make that report at the next committee meeting. We are still working some of the projects that we've talked about in the past. We are nearing completion on our part of the Job Corps project, where they're going to be bringing in Yellow Road Company. They came to us and asked for an extension of the plan that we had originally laid out for them. So they have extended that road to be able to, I don't know if it's going to allow them to do a different class of certification, but the road is a little bit bigger now than what they had originally planned. And I believe we'll be meeting again on that project this Wednesday, because they're possibly looking at putting some sort of building on the property. But anyway, I'll report further on that next month when we know if there's going to be any additional development at that site. Natural Resources, just so you'll know, we are working on putting together a new brochure for the Natural Resources program. There hasn't been an updated brochure on exactly what it is we do that you can hand out to your constituents so that they can pick it up in Cherokee first, since I would say the early 80s. So we have updated that. And if Todd approves that today, then we'll be sending that to the printer hopefully one day this week. So we'll have something that you can hand out to your constituents if they need to know anything about our Natural Resources program. In regard to the Spunky Creek site, the Housing Association is holding off for now. Natural Resources provided them with the name of a good archaeologist and told them that if they need our assistance, and possibly if there was any funding needs that they had in regard to that archaeologist, to contact us, and we would sit down and visit with them and try and work with them on that side. And we just haven't heard back from the homeowners association since that contact. So I figure we will probably be trying to get back in touch with them sometime toward the end of this week if we don't hear from them before then. We continue to work with CNE regarding the wind energy grant that they're working on, which would take place, their study would take place on the Chilocco property. We sent in, we got a biological opinion back from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, so we are now conducting the amendments that they requested, and we just haven't finished that and got it submitted yet. We have been meeting with the Elm Grove Community Group on doing a river cane protection and restoration project for their crafts that they do. And I believe that concludes the things that I wanted to report, unless you have any questions in addition to what we normally do. The rest is just routine stuff that we always do and that I report on to you, what's on our goals and objectives for the year for 07.
Any comments or questions for Mrs. Ruth? I guess no. Thank you.
One other thing that I might note, if you have any of your constituents, I've received a couple of calls today of folks just wanting to know if we're coming out to individual yards and cutting up the down timber. Right now we don't have the manpower or the resources to do that unless there's funds put together or somebody directs us otherwise. So I'm not sure if you start getting calls from individual constituents who those need to be directed to at this point, but right now that's not something our program is.
Melvina?
Angie, there was a group from Big Bureau Forestry Department that's working in the J area helping us out. All they do is
Yeah, we've had a little bit of disappointment with FEMA and with the state. David Raven, that's on my staff, he goes out and fights fire with a Bureau-sponsored fire crew. And he was able to get with his superiors from the Bureau, and they put together a team to go out. It's a saw team, and they've basically been out cutting down the leaves or the limbs and things, and then we're using a dozer and getting them out of the way. It's a small crew, and we put in a FEMA request to try and get 4 more 10-man, what they call hand crews, which is emergency firefighter crews. We were told to submit that request straight to FEMA, of which we did, because the Bureau was fully supporting bringing more men out, but they have to have someone that directs them to go do it. We submitted that to FEMA. FEMA then contacted us and said, well, we have to give it to the state because the state is the one that's going to be giving out what resources you can have for this emergency. Then the state come back and said, no, we're not going to honor this request, but it was I'm trying to think of the next acronym they used we should have made the request to. So it's just been a real bureaucratic process of, no, we're not the ones, this is the people that you should have made the request to. And long story short, we made the request, and we had waited almost 4 days for them to give us some sort of response as to who was going to come out and do it. So, for that crew that has been out working, I'm not sure that FEMA is going to reimburse for their portion of the salary, but yes, there has been a BIA-sponsored fire crew that has been out doing chainsaw work.
And also, there's some church crews from Texas and other areas coming, to help this area. And I was told, if you know anybody, get a name, not eligible to do stuff for themselves, and they'll be glad to go out and help clear their yard or something like that. So, and they're going to be in the area, I think they said sometime this week. So
That's good. And I saw that Todd walked in, and if there's any change in what we know that's in the United States,
Angie, let me interrupt you for a minute. Mr. Baker, do you have a comment or a question?
And Todd, go ahead and come up because you might be able to answer this better. I'm assuming that the fire crews are wanting to know they're going to be paid or reimbursed in some fashion. And from what I've read in the paper, the cities qualify if they'll pay 25% of it, and the state will pay 25% of it, and FEMA pays 50% of it. And am I understanding that we're not even on the same level with the cities?
No, we actually are. I talked to FEMA this morning. Our staff and our salaries that have been out there are going to be reimbursed.
Well, okay. I guess my question is how much money do we need to put in with it so that we can get 3 more crews of 10 to try and alleviate this disaster?
Well, here's been my frustration with the whole process. When the tribe does a designation or when we declare an emergency, we send our declaration into the state as well as FEMA. Okay? And my frustration has been we go and we try to make a request and the state says, no, you go to FEMA. So we go to FEMA and we say, okay, state sent us here to make a request. We'd like to get the chainsaw crews in. They said, that's got to go through the state. So we go back and forth, back and forth. We finally got a hold of our tribal liaison with FEMA and told her the situation. And we got a form, we filled it out, and we sent it in. And we waited about 36 hours. And I called and I said, what's the status on our request for BIA fire crews? And they said it's under review with the state. I said it takes 36 hours to review a single-sided half-by-letter piece of paper. Well, I'm just saying it's under review. So we went back and forth with them, and I finally got a phone call back from the state that says your request is hereby reviewed. And so I talked to our FEMA coordinator today, and she said, well, BIA, since it's a federal resource, is a little tricky. And I said, well, it was one of the things, we were just trying to offer assistance. This was not specifically for Cherokees. And said, any tribal member, any citizen in the county, we were trying to help clear the roads because we weren't even getting down to individual assistance. We were just trying to clear the roadways for propane trucks, emergency management vehicles, EMS trucks. And so I'm very frustrated about it. And I expressed that in quite a few words with FEMA and the state over the last couple of days and asked for a meeting to discuss how we move forward in this because in my opinion, the tribes are in a pickle because they get stuck between federal and state, and one group says do it this way and the other group says this way. We've actually wound up getting nothing done. So it's upon us as a tribe to just carry the weight of the show.
Go ahead.
And for this emergency, we're in a pickle. But are we anticipating when there's not a disaster, working with the state and FEMA and trying to open lines of communication so that we know we're either the same as the city or we're the same as the state?
Right.
I mean,
I'm already in the process.
I mean, if we're going to go into the state, then we ought to be the same as the city. If we're not going to qualify for the state, then we need to do our own in the way.
We will get reimbursement back for any work that we have done. The only thing that was an issue was the request for the BIA chainsaw crews, in addition to what we already had out there. And that was one of those deals. If the county or city requested, it's still got to go through the state. So we were basically being treated the same as a state campaign or county local municipality would have to go through the state. Well, what it does is the state has to prove it, and because the state has to come up with a portion of the funds, and they said we can't support that request.
But could we call the state and say, hey, we'll come up with your portion of the funds, and we need these crews?
Yeah, I'm talking to the state emergency management director. I'm calling.
I think we're more than capable of taking care of some of our own.
Right.
And if it means being reimbursed only a portion of what other organizations or entities are, then I think we need to belly up the bar. Yeah.
And that's been our whole philosophy all along. I would rather not wait 6 months to hear if we're going to be reimbursed for $5. I'd rather go get somebody out there.
So that's that.
We're not holding up just because of that. We've got plenty of crews that are out there with heavy equipment as well as chainsaws clearing stuff out. And I mean, we're making great progress on stuff.
So you need a budget supplement to not deadlock.
One of the things I want to bring up, I think you mentioned the chainsaw crews coming in from some of the church agencies. We do have their form, and we are taking requests. They're being phoned in through Marshal Service, Community Services, and we're phoning them into one central location, and we do have the form to submit the request for those individuals. So we're coordinating. Basically, what we tried to do through the entire emergency management process was to try and coordinate with the county so that we supplement, we don't duplicate the services. And so we tried to respond as quickly as possible and make sure that we weren't sending 4 pallets to Muskogee and they were getting 2 truckloads in 10 minutes from the state. But
what I learned throughout all of this was that in most cases we could respond a lot faster than the state or the county could because they were trying to get
trucks here.
They waited 3 or 4 days for trucks of water to get here, and we were able to turn much quicker than they were.
Todd, Mr. Keener has a question, and Mr. Baker had a question too.
All the services we're going to do there as far as these branches and stuff on the roadway and on the fences or in the yards. Now, what are we talking about here? They're going to chop it all up and stuff and stack it, or just get it off the fence? And how about the stuff that's in the yard? I mean, what services are we servicing?
Well, for instance, I went out with the crew on Thursday, and we
Went up to the Kenwood area as well as the Pegs area. Because we were on our way to Kenwood, we stopped by Pegs since we were on our way north.
And we cleared out a path for a propane truck to get through because they tried to make the delivery and they couldn't get through any person's house. So we cleared a path just wide enough for them to get through.
So they wouldn't have any obstructions. And then,
you just going to get it out of the roadway?
well, that was our first piece, was just to get it out of the roadway. And then just down the road, there was an elderly couple in their 90s, both of them on oxygen. One was the gentleman was an amputee, and they had trees down in their front yard blocking their front entrance.
And home health nurse couldn't hardly get into them, so we went down there and cleared that stuff out.
And got it so that their
Houses.
In other words, where they can just enter in. In other words, the tree trunk and all that still at the place, but you can't enter the house.
Right.
Okay.
And that's what we took care of.
In other words, I don't want them to come back and I'm going to get 1,000 phone calls telling me that wood that came in and did do services, but it's still there, you know.
Right.
So now I want to tell them, well, that what is still there is going to stay there until you move it.
Yeah,
Right.
What we focus on in an event like this
is trying to get life safety needs met first. Meaning that if they can't get services in there, we're going to cut that out as fast as possible rather than going in and
clearing up the tree and making sure the yard's all nice and neat.
we're trying to meet as many needs as possible. So that's what we
do during emergency management, just clear it up so that life safety is met first, and we move on to the next one. So that's what we focus on
to this point. But
from my understanding, the Oklahoma Baptist chainsaw crews, what they will clean up the yard and the debris in the yard. There's a couple of stipulations though. They will not clear tree limbs that are touching the house, and they will not clear tree limbs that are near power lines. So that's going to present a long-term challenge.
Mr. Baker?
Yeah, do we have any plans for other remedial services? A lot of folks, their meters and meter masts have been pulled off their house. And the electric company, if you call them, they come out and cut their electricity off completely and say, once you get the mast back up, then we'll give you electricity. If you're in one of the lucky areas, unlike Audra, that has power available yet, she's still without apparently. And, you know, some of our elders and stuff, they're not going to be able to afford to hire an electrician to come out and put it back up and even so they could get power if power was available. The other is I've talked to many constituents that have lost everything in their refrigerator, everything in their freezer. And it's going to create some major challenges. I mean, even if you get donated foods, if it's gone, it's gone. And a lot of them didn't think to put it on their back porch and until it was already, too late. They kept thinking the power would come on and day 2 goes, and day 3 goes, and day 4 goes. And now we're into day 10 or 11 of many folks that they do not have power. And so are we having any contingency to, and as soon as they get electric, we're going to have water lines busted within their homes that are going to be major problems to save sanitary housing.
Yeah. We are working with, when we do anything like this,
You have to understand that our emergency
management group is really just part-time employees.
they do other things in the organization, but we try to activate everybody from different services, health, community services, housing rehab, and so we've drawn all those people in, and we're taking requests as people call in, as you guys turn them in, people that you know in those communities that have needs. Housing rehab is collecting all of those that need electrical assistance, meaning that you got to restore the poles back to the meter. So they're gathering all of those, and they've worked on a couple of them already.
I guess my main question is, are we going to deplete money that we put in for services that take place the entire year and deplete those with this disaster, or do we have a plan to ask for a special dollars to mitigate this particular situation and not interfere with the services that are supposed to be going out all year long? And
Very good. I believe the chief is going to ask.
Ask for it from the floor tonight.
you know what he's going to ask for?
Not at this point.
Just want to take the time to determine.
The need.
I commend him for trying to get that number together, so we need to know.
Yeah, that's what we plan on.
Any other question or comment? Mel?
I was going for it. I mean, some, it's more devastating in other areas, I guess. I had a call this morning, and there was quite a call of relations, a real that come out of all the chicken houses and stuff. But anyway, my sister worked for DHS, and she called me, and she said, "No, can you help just anybody?" And I said, "Well, I guess if I can." She said, "Well, there's a family, those are realists down there." She said that they just keep like falling brushes in their backyard, but they don't have no food. And and she said, "Read down what we came to help them," and said that they're still out there. But even the community, and I told them, I said, yes, I think they still go to the fire department, even though the water comes from Cherokee, I think they still can get the water to that community. But there's things like that, people don't know, just because they're not tribe members, they think they can't get the water. And I said, if that fire department, I do believe that they can, get that help, or whatever food they have there, they can get it. But last night, as far as, emergency vehicles, they have to go out, they have a long time to go out in the country and get these people, and now the emergency rider trees them down. But last night about 1 o'clock, there was a call came in and said a baby was breathing only about half a mile out of town, but there was no ambulance in town. And from the length of time, I knew that they would probably make it because if they wasn't breathing, but the mother, whoever it was, and it's a problem, they can drive from the town to the police station. The police station, by the time they go, they had to call an ambulance down the road. Well, the baby didn't make it, but I believe that it took for to get there. But, you hear all these people and know some things are beyond our control. But I think, this makes us realize who are neighbors, who are friends, who we can help, what we can do together. And they happened for a reason. I feel like this is happening. Thank you for your work, Todd.
I would just share that I think we've made a lot of good community partners with most of the counties. Most of the county emergency managers know that they can call us. If there is a need. Cherokee County, for example, on Saturday, I was in the emergency management office with Gary Dawson and his crew, helping them to establish some of our shelters. And we reached out to Mays County and Delaware County and Cherokee County, asked them what resources and stuff they needed. And they were all very appreciative because most of those communities were asking for water, and their trucks were stalled in Dallas in an ice storm there, and so they couldn't get them here. And we were able to meet their need and get trucks to meet their needs. So we really had a lot of good community partners throughout this, knowing that we are a resource available.
Linda?
Thank you. I guess I was in the same boat, like I was calling Florida's office, the governor's office, in emergency management, no home city. And there was really nothing they could do, so FEMA came out and assessed they came out, I think, it was kind of doing assessment in our area. And so we were in kind of the same boat that you are in, and getting a cycle is what we could do. We knew that we had some water coming in the flashes in order for one from Cherokee Nation and trying to get some water out. So in the same token, I think that in the future, we need to be better prepared for these emergencies. We don't know what even forms on our land might need our water, our electricity, our dams, or anything else, other than natural disasters that we've dealt with lately. And I think that we need to have set up the bids and have a definite emergency management system working where, we were very fortunate that the roads wasn't nice, so we could get your semis up there if we had water and things to put on. I appreciate the GSA vehicles coming, but they can only do so much, and they can only carry so much water or whatever.
Right. Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that was one of the reasons why we actually used GSA vehicles, was because we couldn't physically get a large truck up there. So we brought them to a central point and then went out with smaller vehicles so we could actually get them. But you're right.
But we still need to take a look at that, and they need to have food stuff and other items. And I asked one about vouchers and things of that nature, wasn't able to get or no help with the generators and this and that. I think we've got to have more of a definite plan, and I know that you folks down here work endlessly and tirelessly and try to do what you can do. But still yet, that's all fine and good for the rest of us that are surviving. But there's still those people out there that had an inch down and we couldn't get to them, and we had a serious heart attack that the names couldn't get to, he lost his life at 9 years old. Things of that nature. I think that we need to, the council maybe be involved with your teams and maybe put together something for the upcoming future, whether it's a stockpile of things and resources that we need or whatever. I really think we need to take a serious look at that, whether it's natural disaster or otherwise. And what do you think?
Well, that is one of the things, anytime you go through an event like this, hopefully you learn something. And one of the things I would like to do is our rural fire departments are always a good resource and somebody that we tap into very early. We also have a lot of community buildings that we purchase or help to build with the community. And I would like to be able to use those and actually get into a contract basis with them and say, in the event of any type of emergency, we can call and even activate the staff, activate the building as a resource either for a shelter or a warehouse, stockpile.
And I know that in our areas as well as some of the other areas, we're coming together as an emergency meeting, but I was just wondering if, and I'm sure you all will be invited, but I was just wondering if there's anything that we could do cooperatively to get some of these things in play, that we know what's inevitable, that we don't know what's inevitable is going to happen, but we can adjust our system to where maybe we can meet some of the needs.
Yep.
No diesel, no kerosene, no gas for the generators, this and that, things to where we have an alternate plan. Or even the use of vouchers. I see nothing wrong with that. I see nothing wrong with going to a place that has a program and saying, Cherokee Nation will guarantee you this amount of money, whoever comes, and they show their blue card or whatever, and we're going to give someone a program. It's got to be some other effect that we can impact our community with in an emergency situation.
I'll be happy to hear from. Thank you.
Todd, I have Mr. Thornton, Mr. Fraley, and Dale John in that order.
Bob, during the last budget appropriation, not that we passed the budget, I brought up to make an amendment to the budget that we put several $100,000 in our budget for just this thing. And at that time, I talked to you, said that we already had money. I think it's a really good thing. And what brought this up was the tornado that we had the year before with me. And we had several council people that spoke out against it. But anyway, I think it's a good idea, and I'd like to see quite a bit more. In a disaster like this, a couple of millions would hurt anybody. But anyway, that's my thoughts and ideas, the past, now we move forward.
Mr. Fraley?
Does our emergency management team meet with the county emergency?
Yeah, we meet with the intertribal
Emergency management group, which is
a collection
from several tribes throughout the state.
we also meet with county officials and state, and we also participate in scheduled training activities, scenario planning. In fact, there was
One planned for last week that they canceled because of our accident. So, yeah, we do actively participate with the county, state, local officials, and we have MOUs with several of the counties
and municipalities.
Also on the fire department, they said they were just learning as they go, and we were playing catch-up all the time, so I wondered if we did any type of training for this.
Yeah, I don't recall off the top of my head what our total is as far as the number of tribal citizens and employees that we've trained in what we call NIMS,
which is the National Incident Management System. And it's where we train them on incident command and things to do in an emergency, and how to respond, how to assist, how to volunteer. And a lot of it's chain of command, it's where to go get your resources, and then who's in charge on the site, and how to set up the shelter, how to set up what are considered hot zones, and just goes through the whole theory of emergency management. But it's well over 1,000. I just can't. But we have been going out in the communities.
With Rick Gassaway when they have their community meetings, both in the community as well as centralized point. We've been doing those trainings with them, trying to get the communities prepared. But of course, hindsight's 20/20. There's always something that we can do a little better.
Mr. Baker?
Yeah, and I passed this out the Monday, the 29th, 10 a.m. community building. We're trying to get together everybody, the fire departments, the city, the state, hopefully the Cherokee Nation. You could have somebody have that meeting. Right, a little bit. My daughter was instrumental in getting this meeting set up. Because I think all of our emergency organizations are learning from this. I don't think anybody thought we'd be out of electricity 11 days, and that the grocery stores, shelves would be empty after the burst, and I just don't think that's what they really thought was going to happen. And but there are folks, my daughter, others that still don't have electricity 11, 12 days later. And so we will try to brainstorm, come up, pull the resources, see what kind of a emergency plan, whether it's a tornado, a ice storm, the fires, whatever, where maybe it won't take the Methodist Church, and I'm not saying it is a bad thing, but it took them 3 days to say, hey, we really have an emergency and we need to open a shelter for these folks that have no heat. And it took 8 days for the county commissioners to realize that, hey, that shelter is over full, and we have a community building that Now we need to open it up, and maybe on day 2, we could, have these in place, if we do some preparation and pre-planning.
Actually, for Cherokee County on day 1, we had
And
I think part of the problem was the
stigma that's attached with it, and people.
people were concerned if they knew about it. On day 1, we opened up the Cherokee County Detention Center. It was not in use. There were there was nobody in jail there.
Yeah.
And so, but that was a lot of the stigma. It's like, you're going to throw me in jail with.
And maybe that's, where we,
But I think on day 2 they had about 60 residents that were in there,
And then they had to move
everybody because they were getting ready to open up.
detention center.
But,
So that's
When they moved everybody to the jail.
but, if day 1, it could be, out across the TV, and everybody know that that's what we do,
Yeah, and here's one of the things, because I was there with them when we were defining all of our resources. We actually came up with 5 shelter sites that very first night, and we had alternatives in case one failed over. In an event like that, when you're losing power and you don't know how many other places are going to lose power, you got to find some place that has alternative power that can generate heat as well as light and for cooking and other services, and there just aren't that many in Cherokee County, and that's really one of our big problems in all of the counties, in my opinion, is that there's not a centralized good point that has. We got big facilities, we just don't have power.
Generators for these community buildings, for a backup.
Yep.
But anyway, all right, thank you. I'll do that.
Well, Todd, thank you.
Yep.
We appreciate what your group is doing, and hope we'll be better prepared for the next one, and it will happen sometime.
Yes, it will.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Get along with our reports, real estate services, Linda Donaldson.
Good afternoon.
Bill.
Okay, real estate services, let's just start with the numbers here. We received about 709 phone calls and returned most of those. During the month of December, we met with 61 individual clients. We completed 49 site inspections on different tracts. We did 2 probate inventories. These were on trust properties to be done as administrative law judge procedures through the BIA. We had 700 leases that are still pending at the BIA. We've got 5 agricultural leases where a fee has returned. We had 20 right-of-way appraisals at the OSP for the review appraisals approval. And a lot of those were on road projects. A lot of them were on completed road projects. You'd think they'd be able to understand that should be faster than they are. We got back 1 right-of-way on a restricted tract belonging to Jesse Dry here in Cherokee County that was approved by the BIA. We did 5 home visits. We had 8 jurisdictional calls. We responded to 2 quiet titles. And we are currently working on a quiet title action in Mays County, which will probably have to be litigated because the individual, he thinks he bought 10 acres, but his contract for deed says 1 acre of unrestricted land. The house is actually on a restricted acre. Somebody at the housing authority mistakenly put the house on the wrong spot. So he's living on the wrong spot. He's trying to quiet the title. He thinks just because it said 1 acre more or less, it means he could have 10 acres. We're trying to have to tell him that that's not quite right. And the other acres, actually, if anybody would get it, it would be this other family that's nearby. It would go to them as heirs to the property. So that one's going to be a mess, and it's coming up in court. So we're having to get a report on that together to get that filed, and because it may eventually go unrestricted, the solicitor's office is not too thrilled about trying to help us on it. It's restricted now, but they're saying, well, down the line it's not going to be. So should they be involved? So if they're not going to get involved, then we will probably be involved with our Justice Department to take some kind of action to try to keep that for our Cherokee members. This man that's trying to get the property is not a Cherokee member. But it's just kind of a strange way of going about it. He's only been there 5 years. I can't see 15 years coming out of that, but somehow he thinks he's got it. But we'll see how that goes down. We had another situation where the UKB filed a probate on a John Watermelon estate in Delaware County. That, again, is going to be a little bit of a controversy because they left out the heirs to one of the family members who happens to be a tribal member here. They said, you know, what happened? It says my dad had no heirs. It says, I'm an heir. And we checked the records, and yes, she was the daughter of this man. So we are trying to get that straightened out to include her so that we can get it fixed. That, fortunately, we have more time on that because of the Delaware County Courthouse being closed. We'll have more time to try to work with the UKB to see if they can't straighten it out. But if they can't, we'll end up having to show up at the hearing next month and try to show the proofs that this person is an heir to the estate and should be entitled to her appropriate share. So you wouldn't think that they'd come up very often, but lately it seems like it's coming up. We also have scheduled to go to a NAPE exposition next week at Houston. This is on the Chilocco mineral situation. This is where you'll have companies like Phillips and Exxon and all these other big oil companies to be able to look at our tract of land to see if they would be interested in doing some drilling. I know that some of the interest on the smaller companies have gone down now that the oil barrels have gone down to the 50 range. When it was in the 80s, they were all excited, but now that it's gone down, they're not as excited. So we're going to see if we can't present to a larger class of companies to see what the interest would be. The Department of Energy is sponsoring this. They are paying for the booth. They are paying for one person from each of the 6 tribes to go down there to do this. So that way we're not out all the money on going. So they have a big interest in seeing that the tribes get something worked out on this situation. And let's see. We also went on one will interview, and we did 15 county researches, and we indexed over 1,500 tracts of land in December. We've also been scanning some documents to get that ready for our title plan as well. And that concludes my report.
Any questions? Comments? Mel?
On those scattered tracts of land, I know those things they held in trust for individuals. There's one I couldn't find where we were held with that document. Where can they go to find, and they say it's on in Kenwood area, Sweet Blackberry land. I searched the record and I could not find that we had on those held in trust. But it's supposed to be clear on those.
Okay. I'm not sure which one that was, but just let me know more about that and we'll find out to see how it's held.
Okay.
Yeah, but sometimes some of those, if they were unallotted, they might be considered USA and Trust.
I think anyway, I'll give them that.
Okay. We'll find that out. Okay, thank you.
Linda, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
3 and 4 in our reports: roads and transportation, public comments, road issues. Michael Lynn.
Good afternoon.
Go.
I'll start here with the RR projects we've got going this month. Start with Cedar Crest Bridge and Cedar Crest Road project in Mays County. We are preparing the right-of-way information to start acquiring right-of-way on the road portion. We're still working with individual landowners around the bridge. Those will be 2 separate projects. We've given one, the individual that we've been dealing with probably for the longest on the bridge. He had been dealing with him Had said that he wanted to put together a list of items for us to review. I called it kind of a list of demands. I haven't seen the list. I've been told of some things that were on there. That was supposed to have been given to us over 30 days ago. Early this month or late December, we wrote a letter to this individual and gave him till January 19th to respond. And to my knowledge, we haven't received anything as of yet. So we're gonna have to start moving forward on that and probably get into condemnation actions with the county commissioner on that fairly quick. Next, we got Daytown, Dry Creek, and Delaware County. That project is ready to go out to bid. It'll be out to bid or out for advertisement on February 1st, and in about 30 to 40 days after that, we should have it awarded. So it'll be under construction here before too long, maybe late winter, early spring. Fairview Uchi 2 project, they're also there in Delaware County. It's just barely getting started. They've done a lot of clearing, grubbing. If anybody has a chance to drive through there, it looks a lot different than it did. They've taken a lot of the trees out, to overhanging trees, and really cleared the right of way down through there. But they're just barely getting started. They've still got a long ways to go. They're probably under 5% complete right now. So, and plus the weather has surely set them back quite a bit. Honey Hill project in Adair County. That I've talked about that month after month. It's still in condemnation proceedings. I just got an email this morning from an attorney over in our Law and Justice Department. We had been dealing with a assistant district attorney over in Adair County, and we got an email from him that stated that it had been handed off to another assistant now in Wagner County who's handling the civil matters, he said. So still yet another new person that we have to familiarize with everything under the new district attorney administration. Red Barn Road, things are shaping up out there a little bit. That's a 6-mile job. 2 of the 6 miles the contractor's got prepared with ag base down on the road. It's not yet necessarily to grade as of yet. Not ready for asphalt's what I mean. But there is it wasn't very much clay material out there. It was real sloppy and nasty during these rainy seasons we've had, and especially with the winter weather we've had here recently. But we do have some rock down on 2 miles of that road project, and it should be shaping up. So I've had quite a few complaints from landowners. They're wanting to know when they're going to get some rock down. So hopefully that will take care of and remedy that for a while anyway. But just as in any type of road construction, it's got to get worse before it gets any better. So Rice Woodard Road in Cherokee County, we're in right-of-way acquisition there. We lack probably 5 or 7% of total parcels needed to start beginning moving utilities. So we're close to finishing that up, and I hope that we can get that finished without having to go to any court condemnation proceedings there. Salem Creek Bridge, Delaware County, contractor there has got the bridge beams up, the pier caps, the bridge beams have all been far in place. The weather, they had plans last Friday to pour the deck of the bridge. That has set them back. The weather has set them back. I don't know what their schedule's looking like. We're going to have to wait till things thaw out a little bit up there and things dry out a little bit. Maybe a week and a half, they'll go ahead and have that deck poured up there. And then lastly, we're in design on Kenwood Road. It's about a 14-mile road that runs from Highway 10 to the Maize County, Delaware line. That's going to be an overlay project, a rehabilitation project. That's an old BIA route that was built probably in the 70s sometime. And we're going to go in and overlay that project. Design on that's about halfway complete. It'll go fairly quick once we get it designed. We did find out that there are 2 bridges on that road project that we're having to look into that are not, those bridges are rated on a sufficiency rating. The sufficiency ratings on those 2 bridges are not up to snuff. I'm working with the county commissioner to see if there's anything that the county can do as far as helping us out with that. Or if we need to go in and add more monies to rehab or replace those bridges. I don't have any tribal projects come forward this month with executive finance. I haven't received talked to several county commissioners and tribal council members about possible projects, but if you guys have any that you'd like to get submitted, we'd certainly be glad to take them and get them pushed forward, and so we can get them on to the county commissioners so they can start doing some work. I know the county commissioners, especially in this part of the country, have got their hands full right now with ice and limbs and trees, but when it does thaw out and warm up, they will be ready to do some work. And then lastly, our staff, we've got 4 staff that have been working feverishly on our IRR inventory update. That's an annual process that we go through each year. In years past, we've managed to add about 300 miles worth of roads to our inventory, and this year we're looking to add around 500 miles. So trying to go over our goals that we've done the past couple of years. And with that, as I've requested in the past couple of years, the deadline for that to be submitted to the Bureau of Indian Affairs over in Muskogee is March 15th. And what I've asked for the past couple of years is that we can submit it to this Resources Committee in March. I believe it'll be March 12th, according to my calendar. I probably need to verify that with Shelley and them, Gail. But I believe it's March 12th. Submit it to Resources on March 12th and have it proceed to full council that night. That way, that'll give us some extra time to get things wrapped up, get extra miles put on the inventory, things like that. I'd like to put forward that request this afternoon, and that way it'll give us some more time to work on this. That's really all I have to report, sir.
As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Johnson.
I'm just going to say, I move we honor Michael's request on that.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Mr. Masters?
What's the situation on the
I don't know that yet. I need to get up there and meet with the new commissioner.
We got started up there and it looked pretty good. Like they're going to finish it and then change commissioners, and I wondered where we stand now.
I need to go up there and meet with the new commissioner and kind of bring him up to date on that if he's not already been brought up to date. I know Bruce had said that he was on his way to getting some state funding to finish that up, but I don't know where that is in the process. I know we have paid for the additional length that we carried it, and it was up to him to carry the rest of the way. So that's really all I know on it right now. I just need to get up there and speak with that county commissioner.
Check the crowd out and see where he's at. See what situation. You can't leave it like that.
No, it needs to be paid on that.
All right, we have a motion, second on the floor. All minds clear on that motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None? All right, Michael, you have the freedom to do that. Melvin, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to kind of comment on what John was saying a while ago, but you mentioned that I talked to Kenny about it, and he said getting somebody to tell me, well, it's finished. I said, well, I don't think so. I said, it's not going to come under the finished, but and then kind of mixed up with another road. But the bridge you're talking about, is that the one by the Dry Creek Road, the bridge that bottom that he road?
There's 2 of them along that road. One's right there by the Dry Creek Road, and the other one is up there by the Kenwood pump water
right
supply.
There, Ross's.
Yes. Yeah, there's 2 bridges on there that we haven't looked at.
Are they, we're not sure. Are there other bridges?
I was told one of them was a metal truss bridge, the other one was a wooden.
So that would take quite a bit to replace.
Quite a bit of dollars. Yeah, they wouldn't be cheap. But if it needs to be, if we're going to go in and spend the money on overlaying the road, then we need to do it right. They're in really bad shape.
I guess my little
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
We'll look into it. I'll let you know.
It's not my brother.
Any other question or comment? Well, Michael, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Last on our report, facilities, David Roberts.
Mr. Chairman, Council, didn't even knock the microphone off this time. We've been, like everybody else, I guess, working mainly on cleaning up after the storm. A lot of limbs are down everywhere. Hopefully, by the end of this week, we'll be back to normal. Interior design building. We'll be moving health and record scanning into that area. And we'll be doing a remodel on the warehouse. We did help a little bit hauling water for emergency management, but not quite as much as a natural resource. Handicap accessibility project for the complex. We include the front door and the restroom. And we're also working on a lighting project for the complex, adding new lighting hallways. Artwork project for the main administration building. We'll be hanging artwork in the complex, historic locations, important streets. That's about all I have right now. Thank you.
Any questions? Comments? Thank you, sir. Well, let's move along. There are no unfinished business. Get into the new business. Mr. Isaac, if you'll present these two resolutions that you have on the agenda. Is that right? Mrs. Hale couldn't be here, so.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I make a motion to move, we approve resolution 1 and 2 in Coco.
Second.
All right. I have a motion and a second to approve both resolutions. Have a second. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you, Mr. Isaac.
Thank you.
Good job. All right, we'll get right along then. And announcements. Tentative next meeting date is February 12th, 4 p.m. We'll have a motion to adjourn. Mrs. Connors.
Just had a quick comment. If I could, please. I just wanted to thank Todd, Ruth, and all of those that have been involved in the efforts to help those who are without. And I know I made a call over the weekend. Our fire department out of Cave was providing water for folks as of Thursday or Friday, and had service to about 260 families. And the fire was ringing off the wall, and people wondered where they could get water. And the firemen kept saying, "Well, we got the Cherokee Nation get water up here at our station." So I had people needing formula for babies and all different needs. So I just wanted to thank everyone's efforts, and also for returning calls and keeping us updated on what was being delivered and where it was being delivered to. So it's one of those, I didn't have to do that. I finally got water back Thursday or Friday, but still no electric. So if you can do anything about that, I'd really be appreciative. I might even dance at your wedding or something. But I just want to thank you all for your efforts.
Thank you, Ms. Connors. All right. Have a motion, second to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.